Hello and welcome back to the Digital Mobsters channel. I'm Ben, and today we're going to be doing a playtest of Paildramon Toolbox, is what I like to call it. I've named it Imp Hex up on the top, but essentially this is just using Paildramon to go into a potentially more powerful top end than the original Imperialdramon line had access to. We go basically full Magnamon X, or Hexablow, or Fighter Mode Ace. But essentially this deck highlights the power of Paildramon and then has some top end that allows you to be a little bit more defensive or offensive depending on the scenario. The deck already was very memory efficient through the use of the Davis and Ken Tamer, the fact that the level 4s gain you a memory when DNA Digivolving, which is really powerful. All we do here to make Magna X more valuable in the deck is we add cards like this Magnamon and the Paildramon, which are armor form in their traits, which means that if they're underneath the Paildramon, when you digivolve into Magnamon X, you get the full effect of Magnamon X. Some other cards that help it to be more memory efficient are the Return to the Primogenitor card, which essentially allows you to go on top of a level 5 Digimon, or allows you to digivolve into a level 5 or higher Digimon with free in its traits for a cost reduced by 4. So essentially you can go into Magnamon X on top of your Paildramon for 2 memory total, which is really powerful. But then we also play cards like Awakening of the Golden Knight, which allows you to go into Magnamon X on top of your Magnamon for 3. But also we run X Antibody Protoform, so in case we don't have Return to Primogenitor and we don't have Paildramon or Magnamon in the sources of our Paildramon, but we still need to go into Magnamon X or want to go into Magnamon X, we can go into Magnamon X for a cost reduced by 1 on top of our Paildramon, and because this card counts as X Antibody, you still get your when digivolving effect for the Magnamon X, and so you get to avoid any of the negatives of missing your armor form trait Digimon. Outside of that, the deck runs a lot of like the staple level 3s and level 4s for Imperialdramon. You can't go without these XVmon. Jamming is really important, and like really the ideal stack for this deck is to go XVmon and Paildramon into a Paildramon, because you get access to the jamming and the armor form, and then you can go into your Magnamon X and get its full effect. And then obviously Hexablow is a very powerful blue top end card in the current format, and even in the new format with SR 2.0, not 20, coming out. This card's still going to be very good. I mean, being able to strip up to 4 sources from your opponent's Digimon and then return a Tamer to the bottom of the deck if they have a card with no Digivolution sources is pretty powerful, and then making it so that your opponent's Digimon can't suspend if they have no sources or fewer sources than this Digimon. Pretty good, because technically if you go into this guy on top of your Paildramon, you're probably going to have potentially like 4, 5, 6 sources underneath that Paildramon before you go into Hexablow, and then you're going to have at least 5 or 6 sources underneath the Hexablow. So between it having Ice Clad and its opponent's turn effect, you kind of shut down your opponent's ability to play the game efficiently through the use of this card. And then of course we run the Imperialdramon Fighter Mode Ace, because if we have to leave a Paildramon hanging, at least we have an ace that can go on top of it in a pinch, right? And this card is still very powerful. It bottom decks one of your opponent's Digimon with as many or fewer sources as it has, which is a very powerful effect in this deck that can stack sources very efficiently, right? And so I really want to take a chance and showcase this deck to you guys, because this might be the future of the Paildramon, or the Imperialdramon low end, or the Imperialdramon engine, if you want to call it that, moving into SR 2.0. There's arguments to be made that the original Imperialdramon line is just better, and I would argue that that might just be the case, but it's always fun to try new variations and to try and innovate on a deck to make it more powerful, right? And so today we're going to be taking this into DCGO matchmaking. Hopefully I can find some good games for you guys to showcase the ability and the combos that this deck has access to. We're going to be going first. So here's our starting hand. Now, when you look at a starting hand, you want to look at kind of the main thing you want to understand is how does this hand allow me to push my win condition forward, right? And in this case, I would want to keep this hand because I see a Vmon, I see an X Vmon, and then I see my Paildramon, which are all like key cards for this deck. And then Davis here is a 4-cost memory setting tamer that also doubles as a search engine. There's not really a reason to get rid of this hand, especially going first, right? We don't get a start of turn draw. And so we really need to be able to maximize our starting hand as much as possible, right? And so here we can go straight into our level 3, which is going to get us a draw, which finds us the Stingmon right off the bat. That's pretty dope. So now we're set up where we have both our DNA Digivolution pieces set up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a set with a memory setter, so that way we don't have to worry about like losing memory. The worst part about it though is we hit a Davis and Ken, which is like the other critical piece for this deck, and hitting that on a search that we can't pull it feels really bad. So our other option there probably would have been the smarter option, which would have just been going into the X Vmon for 2 on top of the Vmon, but that's a hard decision to make. You don't know what your next card is, and realistically we only run 4 Davis and Ken in the deck, so to hit one of our 4 Davis and Ken on that search is pretty unlucky. But in hindsight, the play to go into X Vmon probably would have been the smarter play, because it means we would have set them at 2, so they would have had less room to play, and then we would have had a level 4 setup in raising, so we would just be able to play off of that. So we see now that our opponent looks like they're playing some weird amalgamation of Ancient Garurumon. It definitely looks like Ancient Garurumon just straight up with an Omnimon Ace, which I don't know why you would necessarily play that in... Oh, because it's a Greymon in name and a Garurumon in name. Because you could technically play the use the Ancient Garurumon as the Garurumon in name. Interesting. Interesting. So now we're in a tough spot, in my opinion. So we're going to Digivolve into a level 4 to get a draw. We don't see another level 3. That's kind of where the tough spot is for us. Now they have a memory setter. I could just be like, whatever. I'm just going to give them memory. Because I can. A 4-2. I could choose to go into the Stingmon and set them to 3 and put a body on board. But like, we know they're playing Ancient Garurumon or some form of it. They have a Gabumon out there. They could go into the Lobomon to go into Ancient Garurumon, bounce the card to my hand, and then trash a security, which gives them a lot of like agency in this situation. So, and playing the Stingmon doesn't really do a whole lot. Like, yeah, if it survives, I can go into X Vmon, DNA, go into Paildramon, and then I'm cooking. But I don't expect it to survive, right? And so that's kind of the thing, is like, I'd rather just pass turn here than give my opponent the ability to utilize one of their strengths, right? Which is bouncing cards to my hand to then trash my security. So we're going to do that. That might be the wrong play, because they might not have the ability to go into Ancient Garurumon right now. But we see it. I kind of called it. We see the promo Lobomon. He's going to swing with it. I think it's... Oh no, this one's when Digivolving. It's not like the Agunimon. So when Digivolving, he's going to go into the Ancient Garurumon for 3 or for free. And then he's going to swing into security. Normally, he would... Oh. Wait. That's interesting. I don't think... Okay, so that there must be a weird thing with... Am I misreading the card? Oh shoot. Hold on. Sorry guys, that just threw me off. No. I don't know why it bounced the security to my hand. Am I like... I don't know. I might be dumb, guys. Sorry for the delay, but it says when an effect adds a cards to your opponent's hand, your opponent adds the top card of their security to their hand. But I didn't have an effect return something to my hand, but they still got the effect to return my security to my hand. So I should be at 4 security, not. And they should, like, it worked out in a way for me because they hit Giga Death, but like that shouldn't be the case. Nonetheless, I can't. Promoting here is kind of tough, in my opinion, because if I promote, I could go straight, like, Digivolve straight into the level 5, but that's not ideal because I want to get my memory back. I could hard play the Vmon and then Digivolve into Stingmon for 2, and then DNA. That's probably the play. So yeah, we are gonna actually promote. So because we can do this into this search. We'll search. We'll find one of these cards. Which one is more needed? I like the XVmon a lot in this deck, so I just want to have a bunch of them, and we have 2 Paildramon, so we always have them. I mean, there's an argument that I should have taken the Wormmon here, I guess, but that's fine. So we can go into the Paildramon. Yeah, we're gonna go into the Paildramon here so we can have access to. Oh no, fudge! I messed up. I'm sorry, guys. That's a misplay. So what happened here is actually a hardcore misplay on my part. So I'm gonna apologize for that. It might work out for us, so we'll play through. But this is part of playtesting, right? So you can make mistakes and like learn. But essentially what I meant to do, or what I should have done, was go into the Stingmon on top of the Vmon, which would have reset my memory to, like, brought my memory back down to 0, which meant I could have continued my turn and then swung. So that kind of was a mess for me, but I feel like it's hard for him to clear this Paildramon while without triggering partition. So we're probably okay. In my head, what happened was I thought I want to get armor form so that I can go into the Magnamon X. What I really should have been thinking was, how can I maximize my swings and my win condition in this situation? And I think the better play there was to go into Paildramon with the Stingmon and the XVmon, get the 2 memory back, continue my turn, get 2 swings off, and then be in a better position. Interesting. Delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 8k DP or less, or one of your Digimon, or one of your Gabumon made Digivolve into a Metal Group. Oh, that's good. Oh, wow. This is a really cool concept. They just play the War Greymon so that they can go into Omnimon Ace. Just to go into Omnimon Ace, I guess. That's interesting, and that makes it so I can't suspend, I assume? Okay. Interesting. So we're gonna hatch. I'm gonna go into the Vmon and Raising to get the draw. So now, let's see how we play out of this. So we can't suspend our Paildramon. So it doesn't necessarily benefit us to go into, but then again, if we go into Magnamon X on top of the Paildramon, it'll be unaffected by effects, which means we don't have to worry about the effect keeping us from suspending, technically, I don't think. But I also want to, real quickly, he revealed a Omnimon Ace earlier, and this is the benefit of using a card like, or the benefit of using an engine like this. I want to go up to where he revealed the Omnimon Ace so that I can read it. And choose one of your opponent's Digimon and return it on all of their Digimon with the same level as it to the bottom of the deck. Then delete one of their Digimon. Okay, so the reason I wanted to read that is I wanted to make sure that if I choose to go into this Magnamon X, that even if I swing, they can't Omnimon Ace me and get rid of the Magnamon X. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't like a weird thing there. So what we're going to do here, I think, because they gave me so much memory, I'm still going to use this card because it's just good to have the delay. But we're going to use this card, and it's just nice to preserve memory, to go into our Magnamon X for free, or for 2. Sorry. It's going to get its 1 Digivolving, blah, 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 all that good stuff. It's going to be 15k. Is it boosted if Omnimon Ace goes on top of this? No. So we're going to choose to attack. We'll get to unsuspend if we trigger the security attack here, so we're gonna do that. Force them to like potentially go into the ace if they want to. We're gonna choose to activate the when digivolving effect to restand it, and then we're gonna go straight into the Metal Garurumon. We just want to make sure that they can't Omnimon Ace again. They're gonna gain a memory, be able to hatch an egg, but they already have an egg hatched. So from here, we have a question like, we have 5 memory now. What do we want to do from here, and what makes sense to do from here, right? We don't have another Paildramon in hand. We could go into the Paladin mode Ace, right, and just look to try and remove cards from trash, but that doesn't really help us in this current situation, and we have protection until the end of our next turn, until the end of our opponent's next turn, so it doesn't really make sense to just like to force anything there. I think what we do is we'll Digivolve in Raising just to get a draw. I really wanted to see a Tamer, the Davis and Ken. We always want to see Tamer. I want to maximize my memory here, but I assume he has an Ancient Garurumon play up his sleeve. I don't necessarily want to like give that to him right away. He has a Tamer in trash. Is it worth it to it's worth it to Paladin mode Ace if he tries to like Ancient Garurumon, I guess. It's not really worth it to do it without that. Yeah, so I guess I'll just search with the Vmon here. See what we can find. Find another Magnamon X. But we also find a Magnamon. The Magnamon could be useful to pass turn. We could just bounce the Greymon. But then potentially if I bounce the Greymon, then they get to do the whole Digivolution, the whole shenanigans they just pulled by using it to Digivolve Digivolve his Gabumon into a Metal Garurumon in hand, ignoring the Digivolution stuff. So maybe we just take Magnamon X, because we have setup for it if we find the Paildramon. I think that's probably the better choice. Could be the wrong choice, but who knows. And we're just going to continue to search, I think. I just want to find the Davis and Ken primarily, so we can take we're going to take our other Paladin mode Ace, and we're going to take the Davis and Ken. So now we have the Davis and Ken set up. We could DNA Digivolve, but there's no reason to do that, and we'll wait. So again, like, I don't know why I'm playing around the Ancient Garurumon, because it doesn't matter, because apparently the effect's bugged, where it's just constantly gonna give me the, like, allow him to trash a security card when he goes into Ancient Garurumon, whether he bounces something or not, because he didn't have anything to bounce last time, and it still bounced a security card to hand. So so we're gonna choose to not play around it on DCGO specifically. But if we were playing this IRL, I'm still playing these Vmon because I'm in a much stronger position than my opponent currently, and even if he can hit me for 2 security in this situation, like, I'd rather just find the pieces I need to find and further boost my hand up than worry about playing around his win con, because he's also playing Omnimon Ace, and we need to put pressure on him, hopefully to either force mistakes or just put ourselves in a better position to win, right? Because if you think about it, like, he can't clear both Vmon. It's going to be hard for him to clear both Vmon plus my Magnamon X. He's not going to be able to clear the Magnamon X. I get to promote up into X Vmon. If one of these Vmon live and I find a Paildramon, I have a Paildramon on board with, like, in a very strong position. So it just makes more sense to hold here. He is, it looks like, going to go into Ancient Garurumon. So we have to be a little bit careful here. He could Ace, like, DNA Ace Digivolve next turn potentially, so we have to worry a little bit. But if he chooses to do that, I could potentially partition and then go into Paildramon anyway. So we have a lot of plays around this. We're gonna see what happens, because I could also go into a Paildramon Ace, or a Paladin mode Ace, sorry. but it's only when it would be deleted. So we have to be aware of that. So we'll see. We'll see. Like, the way I'm thinking is, I have this board set up, like I said, to hopefully hit into a Paildramon to then go into a Stingmon. We could do Paladin mode Ace here, but it doesn't net me anything, really, at this point. Like, I get to strip sources from a Gabumon X. I don't get to block or anything, so it doesn't make sense to go Paladin. He knows I have it, and select a Digimon to de-Digivolve. So this can't be de-Digivolved. This can't be de-Digivolved. But we're going to have to select this because I don't want to select one of my own, obviously. But now we can activate its one Digivolving effect because they trashed the security. Wait! My effect didn't activate. This is at the end of the battle, one of your Digimon may Digivolve into this card without paying the Digivolution cost, but it didn't trigger. It didn't allow me to... DCGO, why are you messing with me? Oh, that feels so bad. Well, I guess we're discovering bugs, but normally there, if he hits that into security, I'm able to de-Digivolve one, and then after the battle, Digivolve it into on top of one of my Vmon, and then it would allow me to strip sources and bounce a card back to his hand, which means I would have been able to bounce the Burning Greymon. Unfortunately, I can't do that because it didn't give me the option to, so that's something to consider. And now it looks like he's going to attempt to go into Omnimon Ace, I believe. You may play one Agumon or Gabumon from your hand or trash without paying the cost, then place this card in the battle area. All turns when one of your Digimon with Greymon or Garurumon in its name would leave the battle area outside of a battle delay. The Digimon and a card in the hand may DNA Digivolve into a Digimon card with Omnimon in its name in the hand. Wow. Okay, well now I'm in a little bit of a bind, I feel. Because now he could potentially go into... Okay, so what we're going to do instead... This is my mentality, right? Is what we're going to do instead, since we have the ability to just go into... Oh, we don't have a Paildramon, though. Shoot. Okay. Huh. So he goes into Omnimon. He blocks... He's potentially just going to block, right? So what we can do is we can Digivolve here for 2. Hope to find something. We don't. Dang it. That really sucks that the Magnamon didn't allow me to Digivolve, eh? Well, shoot. Because he's just going to block. Right? So we're going to security attack here. Draw 1. Okay, well there's the Paildramon, but there's double Paildramon. He doesn't know I have it now. But he's going to counter. We knew it was coming. He can't get rid of the Magnamon. But he can... Oh, he's going to choose to bounce it. That's crazy. That's crazy he chose to bounce it instead of just blocking. That's crazy. So, what did he pop? Did he pop my Paildramon, I'm assuming? Interesting. That's interesting. Because I can just DNA here. We're going to select one of the XV. I have 5 sources. It means I can suspend everything on board. And then just for protection's sake, we're gonna DNA again into another Paildramon over here. And the reason I say for protection's sake is because we'll have partition on this one as well. You could say, oh well, like you could go into the Magnamon X. That's true. That might have been a small misplay overall, if I'm being honest. But in my head, I'm just thinking like, I don't think I had another Armor Form Digimon in hand. Oh, I did have a Paildramon, so I could have gone into the Paildramon instead of the Stingmon. That probably would have been the better play, but, you know, we make misplays here. A swing. Just gonna draw a bunch. I'm hoping to maybe find the Hexablow, if I'm being honest. But we're not at, like, massive threat of him doing it a whole bunch right now. Ooh. And there we go, we end up winning. But there, yeah, like I said, we had the Armor Form in hand, and we could have gone into that instead of into the Stingmon, and we would have been in an even better position, because then we could have gone into Magnamon X and gotten its effects. So that is something we could have changed up in that game. But overall, I would say that's a good game against a fairly decent deck. Definitely one that you might not see that often, but, you know, Omnimon Ace is a legitimate card. Ancient Garumon's a legitimate card, and there were some weird bugs with DCGO in that match, but overall, I think I was able to fully display the power of the deck we're playing, right, and show off some of the cool combos you can do, even through my own misplays, you know. But yeah. All right. So in this game, we're going to be going second. And looking at our starting hand, there's a lot of like good parts of this hand. So we have the Vmon that digivolves for 1, but 0 on top of Demi Vmon. That's a good starter to have, because then we can go Vmon into Vmon to start and potentially find our pieces. But I guess you could argue to mulligan this hand. I think we're going to take a chance on this hand and choose to keep it. I think this is good. This is a hand that's playable that we would like to try playing out of. So we're going to keep this hand. Now, because this is playtesting, I'm not necessarily looking to win every game I play. I'm just looking to test out how the deck feels and how the deck operates. And so I think it's critical in these types of scenarios to like play through hands that we wouldn't necessarily keep in every scenario, because you never know what you're going to mulligan into, and it's very possible that we choose to mulligan like a bad hand and then we end up getting this hand instead. And obviously in that situation, we're definitely staying with this hand, or like we're definitely happy with this hand. So we're going to try, considering this was our first hand and we chose not to mulligan it, we're going to try playing through this hand as efficiently as we can. And it looks like we're going to be going up against a very strong meta contender in Magnamon X, the Vmon Armor version. So this will be a good test to see if this deck can kind of hang with a meta contender that is going to be very relevant even going into the new 2.0 booster as well. So we don't get much off of the reveal here. We see Return to the Promogenitor and XVmon. We're going to choose to take the Paildramon out of the 3. Just because we already have 2 XVmon, it doesn't really make sense to take another one. And we need a Paildramon to go into regardless. So even if this isn't the ideal Paildramon, we're going to take it. And here I'm going to choose to go into another Vmon. We're really just trying to find our setup for this deck. And so I think it's important to keep searching. We see their X-Antibody Protoform, and unfortunately it's going to go to the bottom of the deck, and we still are missing some pieces. So unfortunately, even though the beginning hand we chose to keep because it was playable and we could play through it, unfortunately we haven't seen what we wanted to see out of our searches. And luckily we're going up against a deck that seems to be struggling to find the pieces it wants to see through its draws and what have you. And so that's a positive for us. I think what we're going to choose to do is we're going to keep this guy in raising. It doesn't really make a lot of sense for us to pull him out right now. We don't really have a good play. And so I think what we're going to do, it's going to be slightly risky, but we're going to choose to Digivolve into a XVmon on top of one of these Vmon just to try and get a draw. They have a memory setter, so this isn't like super impactful necessarily, but we just want to be able to like find our pieces quickly, and so we're just trying to set up board for draws essentially. Now, what I could have done there is I could have chipped, and I probably should have in retrospect, but I prioritized getting the draw, and in doing so, kind of forgot that we can always chip with our Digimon. Realistically, I don't know if that makes a huge difference, because I kind of want to maximize the chance of keeping a piece on board here. So it was kind of important to me, even if chip was available, it's more important for me to keep these bodies on board so that we can potentially play through an opposing turn, right? So he's going to swing, manages to hit something that he doesn't die to in security. Not that it would have mattered a ton, because he could have always armor purged it, but I would assume I'm going to see a Magnamon X Digivolution here, but he might not have it in hand, and he doesn't. Instead, he plays the Sora and Joe. We have to be aware of this card, because this card essentially allows him to strip a source every time he attacks, or strip up to 2 sources, I believe, yeah. And they get to choose the sources, which is really dangerous here, because we could get absolutely burned if we go into a partition Paildramon and he just gets to strip the sources, or even if we go into the Paildramon and it hangs on board and he's able to strip the armor form out, then we can't go into Magna X on top. So right here we're gonna feature a pretty powerful thing on this that's a part of this list. We're gonna go into the Magnamon here. We're gonna do the 3-cost Digivolution. It should, yeah, and then we'll gain the memory, and then we'll trash the source and then bounce his Magnamon to hand, which is huge. So what that means is we delay the Sora and Joe play, but we also establish a Magnamon. So if we needed to, we could go into Magnamon X with Awakening of the Golden Knight to pass turn, which is a very powerful move. But we could also choose to go into Paildramon instead here and Digivolve into a Paildramon at end of turn, gain the memory back, and then be able to still go into a Magnamon X with armor form traits, but also with Paildramon underneath it as well. So I think that's the play we're going to choose, because we get jamming underneath our Paildramon if we go this route. So we're going to choose to DNA Digivolve here, and in doing so, we're going to DNA Digivolve. I think I'm going to use the non-partition Paildramon. And the reason I'm doing this is because he has nothing on board, so it doesn't really benefit us to go into the higher value Paildramon. Because we don't really get the when Digivolving effect doesn't matter in that case, right? And so it doesn't really make sense to go into a Paildramon that has a much more powerful effect for dealing with boards when they don't have a board state that really gets affected by that. So the plan here is to just go into this Paildramon, which allows us to attack twice, so we still get our 2 attacks in. We have jamming, we'll get a draw, and we'll get to unsuspend. We're going to swing one more time. We give them a blue memory boost, which is a little dangerous, but because of the nature of their deck, they don't have a lot of DNA Digivolve, so we don't necessarily have to be worried about them like popping off with a crazy play. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to actually attack with a Magnamon here. Ooh, and that's going to come back to bite us a little bit, I think. We will choose the Armor Purge here. Okay. So that unfortunate play, that was kind of an unfortunate play, because it ended up hurting us in the long run. How to play out of that? So, obviously in retrospect, probably would have preferred not to do that extra swing now that I know he would have died, because we hit probably the worst thing we could have hit there. So I'm not going to get too upset about it. It just kind of sucks that it happened that way. So now we have to pass turn. I may just pass turn going into the Paildramon here. This is a little greedy. Oh, we could choose that. Yeah, we will choose that actually. We'll choose that. We'll go into the... We'd rather go into the Magnamon here. No, the Paildramon's the proper play here. So we're going to go into the Paildramon. We will choose to end of turn DNA Digivolve here. To go into the Paildramon. And like, this isn't going to net us a ton, but it sets up the Paildramon on board, which is good. And then it also allows us to pass turn to them at 3 instead of giving them that extra memory. So now they have to get through... I mean, they still get the 2 because we have a Digimon with no sources, but now they have to get through a partition Paildramon. So unless they're running Sorai, it's going to be really hard for them to get through this. And now this Digimon is set up with jamming and armor form in its traits, which means next turn we could potentially swing for 2 checks with jamming and then go into the Magnamon X antibody to end turn, which is pretty good. Or we could just win turn outright if we get those 2 swings off and then get to go into the swing with the Wormmon to get the last check for a game. But they pop the memory boost. My assumption here would be that they... Oh, okay. I did not expect the Death Xmon here. That is... Oof. That hurts. In all honesty, there was no world where I probably should have expected a Death Xmon potentially, but like, there's no indication that they were running that in the deck, and to see that come out in that situation that's pretty rough for our deck, because now they're in a very powerful position. They're set up. They could potentially go into a Magnamon X next turn, and then we're going to be in a tough spot. What we can do is we can set up double Tamer though, and then that's a lot of setup that we can potentially utilize to our advantage next turn. So we're going to go into the double Tamer setup. Sets them to 3. They won't get any value out of their Death Xmon end of opponent's turn effect. And then we're set up to potentially go into a Paildramon, into a Hexablow, into a Magnamon X, whatever we need. But we'll see. Part of me is thinking we go into the Hexablow, bounce the Sora and Joe, which could be a very powerful play for us, because then with Ice Cloud we could swing over the... We don't have to worry about the Magnamon X necessarily. Ideally they just hit something that kills them here, but they won't. So our play next turn is to utilize our Davis and Ken Tamer to potentially find some stuff and hope that we maybe see some things to allow us to go into the Hexablaumon. But that Death Xmon is pretty annoying. That is unfortunate. We will promote out. We're in like such a tough position here. Because now it's like, what do we do here? We could go into a Paildramon on top of the XVmon for just raw, and then go into Hexablaumon. That's something we could do. It might be the right play, but that hurts a little bit. I'm trying to think here. We're kind of in a tough spot. The Death Xmon was a very powerful play that I did not expect to see at that timing. And it's just unfortunate that he had it in hand. But I think we have to do our best to play through, because they just win next turn, all things considered. So yeah, we're gonna take the risk. We're gonna go into the Paildramon just straight up here. We're gonna get the memory from our Vmon, and then we'll use a Tamer to get the memory as well. Oh boy. We'll use this field effect. I don't think it's gonna... Yeah, it's not gonna suspend the Magnamon X anyway. but we'll just gain our memory back. And of course, after we do that, we see the Stingmon, which would have allowed us to go into Paildramon. Not that Paildramon changes a whole lot in this situation. And now we're kind of stuck with the only option we have, which is Hexablaumon. We'll go Hexablow, but for all intents and purposes, wait. Huh. Oh, yeah, we would have had to be able to strip all the sources. I mean, the Hexablamon's still the proper play here because we have Ice Clad. So, in the off chance they manage to hit a Giga Death or something in our security, at least we can survive a turn. But if they don't hit the Giga Death, then then I think we just lose altogether. Another decent hit might be the Magnamon from Starter Deck 17, but who knows? I mean, overall, this was a good match. I think we were able to highlight some of the pros of this deck. We did get like a pretty good Paildramon Digivolution that we could have gone into the Magnamon X through, but we got a little greedy, swung, and hit a De-Digivolve Magnamon out of security, which was unfortunate. But you know, you can only do so much, and unfortunately what we had wasn't enough. So they're gonna swing into security here. I would assume the Shuyulin give Alliance, I think, right? Yeah. They're gonna strip sources, but unfortunately I believe this is GG. We could blast Digivolve. We will, just for shits and giggles, why not? we'll go in. We can return cards from their trash or our trash. Ooh, we're not surviving this turn, probably. So we'll choose to remove cards from their trash, but they're going to be able to unsuspend with the Magnamon X, and then swing again if they want. And unless this is Giga Death, it is! It's Giga Death! Bottom of the deck. We have to bottom deck we have to bottom deck the Death Xmon, because otherwise Paladin mode gets bottom decked. So that's massive. I mean, I don't know if it changes the outcome of the game enough, and it doesn't. They have Omnimon. But dang, that was a good game. Overall, I want to say that I think the deck performed the way I wanted it to. This last matchup was a tough matchup, and honestly, I think the game could have gone either way off of just a couple plays and a couple choices. In hindsight, obviously, the greedy extra swing when the Paildramon was on board probably was the thing that sealed my fate, realistically speaking, because if I had just gone into Magnamon X, I wouldn't have hit the Magnamon, which de-digivolved the Paildramon, and then allowed for them to get momentum back. But like, then again, I didn't play around the Death Xmon because I had no way of knowing they would have it in hand, but they did. So overall, I don't think I can be really upset with the way the deck performed in this game, and honestly, I'm very happy with the way the deck's been performing overall. But nonetheless, I really appreciate all of you who stuck with the video and watched till the end. If you did, please like, subscribe, even comment if you want. If you want to see us play test a deck that maybe you have a thought on or you want to see played, feel free to comment. I'll do my best to do my research, build a list that represents that deck, and then you'll see a video on it. Or if you have a deck that you have created and you just want to see us play through it and see our thoughts on it and see how it does against some of the competition on DCGO, or even on Project Drazel, please let us know as well, because we can always take those decks, bring them into Project Drazel, and test them against whatever decks you want to see tested against, and then you'll get our honest thoughts and opinions on how the decks perform. Otherwise, I appreciate y'all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.